My new alarm clock rings 5 minutes before something horrible happens. I found it at an estate sale last Saturday, a vintage brass alarm clock with twin bells on top and a satisfying mechanical tick. The elderly woman running the sale practically forced it on me. No charge, she insisted, pressing it into my hands. Just take it. It was my husband's. Her eyes didn't meet mine. It's special, she added. Only rings when it needs to. I thanked her, thinking it was broken. My apartment was silent that night except for the clock's rhythmic tick-tock. I set no alarm before bed. I didn't even win that mechanism, just the timekeeping one. At 3:47 a.m., the bells rang. I jolted awake, fumbling for the clock in the dark. The ringing stopped as soon as I touched it. By my bedside lamp, I confirmed the time, 3:47. The alarm hand wasn't even set. Strange, but electronics malfunction. I drifted back to sleep. At 3:52 a.m., my phone rang. My sister's voice came through, panicked and breathless. Dad's had a heart attack. We're at St. Michael's. I arrived at the hospital 20 minutes later. Dad survived, barely. The doctor said if the ambulance had been called 5 minutes later, he wouldn't have made it. 5 minutes. From when my alarm rang to when my sister called. Just a coincidence. Had to be. 2 days later, while Dad recovered, the alarm rang again. 5:13 p.m. I was cooking dinner, knife in hand, slicing vegetables. The unexpected sound made me jump, nearly cutting myself. At 5:18 p.m. exactly, my neighbor's toddler wandered into my apartment through the door I'd left ajar for fresh air. She headed straight for the boiling pot on my stove, reaching up with tiny hands. I caught her just in time. This was getting unsettling. Twice could still be coincidence, but the precision, exactly 5 minutes each time, not at me. The following morning, I examined the clock more carefully. No manufacturer name, just an inscription on the bottom, Tempus Monet. Time warns. I considered getting rid of it, but what if it was somehow helping? If not for that alarm, my father might have died. A child might have been severely burned. I decided to keep it, at least for now. On Friday, the alarm rang while I was walking home from work. 6:22 p.m. I froze on the sidewalk, checking my watch to confirm the time. People streamed around me as I stood paralyzed, counting down the minutes. 4 minutes. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. 1 minute. At exactly 6:27 p.m., the crosswalk signal turned green. I took a step forward, then hesitated. The alarm. Something horrible in 5 minutes. Which meant now. I stepped back onto the curb just as a delivery truck ran the red light, barreling through the crosswalk at full speed. A woman who'd been standing next to me screamed, dropping her shopping bags. That night, I couldn't sleep. The clock sat on my nightstand, ticking ominously. How did it know? What else did it know? And why me? I remembered the old woman's words. It was my husband's. The next morning, I returned to the neighborhood where the estate sale had been held. The house stood empty, sold sign in the yard. A neighbor was collecting mail from a nearby box. Excuse me, I called. The elderly woman who lived there, do you know where I might find her? Mrs. Petrovich? The neighbor shook her head. She moved to assisted living after her husband died. Rosemont Gardens on Hillside Drive. Rosemont Gardens was a modest facility with faded floral wallpaper and the distinct smell of cafeteria food. Mrs. Petrovich sat alone in the common room, staring out a window. The clock, I said, after introducing myself. How does it work? She smiled sadly. Victor was a watchmaker. But that one was different. He never sold it, never even displayed it. Kept it in a locked drawer. Her hands trembled slightly. It warned him for 40 years. Car accidents. House fires. Our daughter's appendicitis. But how? He never knew how it worked. Said some mechanisms shouldn't be taken apart. She looked directly at me. It only rings for its owner. And now that's you. Why me? I asked. Why give it away at all? Her eyes watered. Because sometimes it doesn't give you enough time. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? The alarm rang at midnight. Victor died at 12:05 a.m. Heart attack. She wiped her eyes. I couldn't bear to keep it after that. I drove home slowly, the clock beside me on the passenger seat. 5 minutes warning of something horrible. Life-saving knowledge, but what a burden to carry. That evening, I set it carefully on my nightstand. At 10:42 p.m., the bells rang. I sat up straight, heart pounding. 5 minutes until something horrible. But what? I was alone in my apartment, doors locked, windows secured. 4 minutes. I checked my phone. No emergencies, no frantic texts. 3 minutes. I paced the room, scanning for danger. Gas leak? Electrical fire? 2 minutes. I called my sister. No answer. Dad? Still in the hospital, stable. 1 minute. Nothing seemed wrong. Maybe it was malfunctioning after all. At 10:47 p.m. exactly, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? I answered cautiously. Is this Ryan Thompson? A formal, unfamiliar voice. Yes, who's calling? This is Officer Daniels with the Boston Police Department. I'm afraid there's been an accident. Your friend, Michael Abernathy. The clock stopped ticking. I didn't need to hear the rest. Mike, my best friend since college. Gone in an instant on rain-slicked roads. 5 minutes warning, but no way to stop it. No way to reach him in time. I stared at the silent clock. What good was a warning if you couldn't prevent the horror that followed? That night, I placed the clock in a box, then buried it deep in my closet. But at 3:16 a.m., muffled but unmistakable, the bells rang again. I didn't retrieve it. Didn't want to know what fresh tragedy awaited in 5 minutes. But as I sat in the dark, a realization dawned slowly, terrible in its simplicity. The warning wasn't for someone else this time. It was for me.